All right, so the big movie of the week is going to be what, Wade? Let's face it.
This week?
Yes.
Well, the Owls of Ga'Hoole.
No, it's not.
No?
I was going to see that piece of crap.
You again.
Oh, my God. Just wait. Just wait.
Would it be
the venting will begin.
Wall Street Money Never Sleeps?
Wall Street Money Never Sleeps! Now, Wall Street Money...
There's enthusiasm.
You know what? And you know what? The thing has a 50,
Break it down.
The thing has a 55 on Rotten Tomatoes at this moment, so obviously the studio audience represents the public at large. Now, the movie Wall Street Money Never Sleeps is, of course, the sequel to the 1987 Oscar-winning Oliver Stone film. And it's funny because, you know, Oliver Stone did the film 23 years ago, and back then, he was sort of a much angrier director. He did Platoon and, of course, Salvador and Wall Street. And it's funny because as he's gotten older, you would think he would get angrier, especially considering the films he's chosen to do, including World Trade Center and W. But really, he's kind of mellowed out. So, whereas in Wall Street 2, I was expecting something angrier because it's such an angrier time really now than it was in the late 80s. He's replaced that anger, at least in this film, with some pretty slick melodrama. And now let's take a look at a clip.
What are you, some kind of energy freedom fighter?
No, Mr. Gecko, I'm in this game to make money like anybody else.
So what about money, Jake? You like her?
Do I like her? I've never thought about money as a she.
Oh, she lies there in bed at night with you, looking at you, one eye open, money never sleeps. And she's jealous. And if you don't pay close attention, you wake up in the morning, she might be gone forever. And I think you want to be in the family business.
Which is what?
Payback. Except I'm not in that business anymore. It's the one thing I learned in jail is that money is not the prime asset in life. Time is, and your time is just about up. You know, there's fortunes to be made. Hundreds of millions of dollars betting against this bubble. Just wish I had $1 million.
So the greed that was so good in 1987 has actually created an apocalypse, which was the collapse of the banking system.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the film, Michael Douglas's Gordon Gekko, which he won an Oscar for in the original, Gordon Gekko gets out of jail, almost penniless, and he winds up being sought out by Shia LaBeouf. Now, Shia LaBeouf is dating Gordon Gekko's daughter, played by Oscar nominee Carey Mulligan. So when LaBeouf seeks out Gordon Gekko, it's really twofold. One is that Shia LaBeouf wants to kind of get into Gordon Gekko's, he understands that Gordon Gekko was a brilliant strategist back in the day, you know, and Gekko thinks to himself, God, if I can kind of hook myself up with this young Turk, I can get back in the game. And he can also hook back up with his estranged daughter, played by Carey Mulligan, because they have not gotten along. They haven't barely seen each other for 8 years. And what you have here is a pretty jam-packed script because you've got a lot of intersecting relationships. You have the Michael Douglas character along with Shia LaBeouf and what they're going through. You've got Shia LaBeouf and Carey Mulligan and what they're going through. You've got Gekko and Michael Douglas and the daughter and what they're going through. So there's a lot going on, and it's also all happening in the backdrop of this big financial collapse. So there's a lot going on, but I have to say they juggle it well.
They do juggle it well. And Josh Brolin, it should be pointed out, is the villain of this piece. It's not Michael Douglas. Josh Brolin steps in as the new big Wall Street guy who is somehow integrally involved in compromising Wall Street and government and somehow breaking down the barriers that normally separate the two, or at least that cause them to keep each other in check. And he really is the villain of this piece, and he does a great job of it. So he's got 2 movies out this week, that and the Woody Allen film.
That is true. But I'll tell you,
it's a good week for him.
What I liked about Wall Street 2, which I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. Mm-hmm. And they were very crafty with the Gekko character because normally in a film like this, you would expect the character to come out, guns blazing, be exactly the guy he was in the first one, because that's what we remembered and loved. But here, he doesn't do that. Well, he's much mellower, and he's got to get back into that groove through the Shia LaBeouf character.
We should point out, Oliver Stone, and by the way, there's about as much time between the original Wall Street and this film as there was between Godfather 3 and 2, you know, if you think about it.
But that goes back to the point that Coppola doesn't have it anymore.
No.
Godfather 3 was terrible.
What's good here is that Stone didn't write this. And this was actually developed without Stone for a number of years, and Alan Loeb, who was the last screenwriter on this, former Wall Street guy himself, and he was writing a lot of this while the collapse was happening. So he was able to talk to people, research it, and somehow integrate a lot of the actual zeitgeist of that moment into the script. And then Stone comes in, a much mellower Oliver Stone, and I think he has better rounded characters to deal with. So his anger isn't there as a director, and it's not there as a screenwriter, obviously. He didn't write it. So I think you get a better balanced film than the original. The original film, for me, was kind of a cartoon. And here I felt like Gecko was more dimensional. I felt the complexities between the character relationships rang more true. And somehow I got the sense that we're not sort of giving, this isn't some great screed about what's wrong with Wall Street and what's wrong with this and what's wrong. It really just says, look, this happened and this is how it affected these people, and take what you will from it. There are some bad people and there are some good people, and there are actually some very, very sympathetic Wall Street figures in this. Frank Langella is a very sympathetic figure.
That's true. But just to speak to your other point, you know, the thing with the original Wall Street is that it captured a moment, and that's why it was so popular. This film, to me, kind of unfortunately doesn't try to capture a moment. Here, Stone is more of an observer telling a story than he is putting himself into it. Now, Stone, it's possible that Stone nowadays puts his personality into these horrible left-wing documentaries he does, where he sits down and kisses Fidel Castro's butt for 90 minutes. And Hugo Chavez, too. It's just terrible. So it's possible that Stone, that's where he exercises that, and now he's become more of a storyteller. But, look, admit it, when you found out that Oliver Stone was going to direct World Trade Center, you thought to yourself, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. This will be the angriest.
Yeah, it wasn't.
And it wasn't. It was a nice movie. It was like but anybody else could have directed that film.
It was a very special episode of Emergency.
Right, but
it was.
It's true. Oh,
that's what it was.
Oh, too soon? So, but the thing is that when you look at Oliver Stone directing even W, you're like, oh my God, this is going to be something that's going to capture the moment.
No.
It's not. It's not. He's just become a different guy.
Yeah.
You know?
But I'm fine with that.
And you know, in the end, I wound up being fine with it too, because it was very well written. It's very craftily done. I'm going to say something I never thought I would ever say. Shia LaBeouf, good. I'm not kidding.
You know what?
Okay.
As someone who shares your disdain for him, perhaps even exceeds it, I'm going to say, Shia LaBeouf, unobjectionable.
Because the thing with Shia LaBeouf is that he is not a very, he doesn't show a lot of depth or intelligence in his acting, probably because he's not deep or smart. But what I'm saying is that, but here he has to play a guy he's a little over his head, he's trying to muddle through, so in a way his stupidity kind of works for the character.
And there really is zero chemistry between him and Carey Mulligan, and I don't buy for a second that those two are going out. All hype, all publicity. She would never do that. But yeah, I mean, he normally annoys me to the point of foaming at the mouth, and here I was perfectly fine with it.
Right.
Didn't like him, didn't hate him.
Shia LaBeouf or Ashton Kutcher?
Suicide. I would say suicide. I vote for suicide. And there's pills. And don't forget when you do it, go this way, not this way, because that's how that goes.
Matthias wanted to know the chat room. It was for Matthias in the chat room, so I just wanted to.
Matthias, I hope that helped.
Although he says Shia is the Ashton Kutcher of the Bieber generation.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to take Ashton Kutcher any day over Shia LaBeouf.
Really? I don't know that I would do that.
Any day.
No, you know why? Because at least Shia LaBeouf tries to be a serious actor doing real movies. Ashton Kutcher does what? Killers?
I don't care.
Please feel free to check the YouTube for our review of Killers.
Yeah.
Seriously, you really want to check that out.
Exactly. All right, so there you go. So that's Wall Street Money Never Sleeps. Surprisingly okay.
Surprisingly just fine.
That's right.
Perfectly adequate.